All right, today we're going to dive into some stories that, well, they might just flip everything you think you know about happiness and security on its head.
Hey, stop scrolling. No, I'm serious. Because what we're about to get into, it's not just a bunch of ideas. This could actually be a turning point for you. Think about it. You spend so much of your life building these walls, right? You save money to feel safe. You try to never be alone so you can feel loved. You chase after success because you think that's where the real good stuff is. But what if that whole game plan is completely backwards? So, where does this all begin? It usually starts with this feeling. It's kind of hard to put your finger on it. It's like this quiet, heavy weight that just settles in, especially when you're by yourself.
Have you ever felt that? That's what we're calling a silent season. It's when the house suddenly feels way too big and your heart just feels heavy. Honestly, it's the sound of a life that's been lived just a little too carefully, a life spent holding back.
And that emptiness, it almost always leads to this crisis of what am I even doing? You've done everything right. You've saved your energy, your money, your dreams, but there's still this nagging fear that one bad day could just wipe it all out. And you just feel stuck. Well, that feeling brings us perfectly to our first story. It's about a guy named Ethan who thought he could save his way into feeling secure, but as you'll see, he just ended up trapping himself in fear. Okay, so this slide just nails the two different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got Ethan's original plan, just hiding cash, missing out on the little joys of life, and basically living scared all the time. But on the other side, wow, it's a total shift. He's not just hoarding stuff because he's afraid of not having enough. He's actually using what he has with a purpose to solve a real problem and build something that lasts. And that's the huge realization Ethan had. Real safety, true security. It's not about having an envelope full of cash stashed away. It's about what you build through action, through learning, and through making your life tough enough to handle whatever comes your way and to be able to get back up and start again. So, Ethan's story teaches us that security isn't about hoarding. Okay, great. But what about the things we're all actively chasing? That brings us to our next story about an old woman who gets a choice that really makes her define what value even means. So picture this. You've got these 3 doors, and they basically represent the big choices in life. You've got the golden door, that's wealth. The wooden door, that's youth. The things we all think will make us happy, right? But then there's a third option. A plain, old, rusted door. Not exactly appealing, huh? But here's her wisdom. She doesn't go for the obvious prizes. She picks the rusted door. Why? Because she trusts her gut, her life experience, which tells her that the best things aren't always shiny and new. So, what was behind it? The big prize? Nope. Nothing. Just silence and dust. And you know what she does? She laughs. She wasn't disappointed at all. Because her peace, her happiness, it didn't depend on what she could get. It came from being deeply grateful for what she already had. Her happiness was internal. It was solid. It didn't matter what was behind any of those doors. Okay, so we've talked about the fear of losing money and chasing after shiny things. But let's talk about something that can feel even heavier than all of that. Loneliness. And we can totally reframe how we see loneliness by looking at the story of a woman named Martha. After her husband passed and her son moved away, she felt this incredible emptiness. But over time, she started to see this silent season differently. It wasn't rejection, it was preparation. The quiet was actually giving her the space she needed to grow. And here's the beautiful lesson she learned. The love and kindness she'd given throughout her life wasn't gone. It was just being moved. It was preparing her, shaping her, to become a source of comfort for kids who needed it later on. That lonely season had a real purpose. It made her heart bigger, so she could care for others in a totally new way. All right, so we've covered money, and we've covered our hearts. So let's wrap this up by talking about the one thing that's totally priceless, the one thing you can never, ever get back, and that's your time. Just think about this number for a second. 86,400. That's how many seconds you get every single day. Someone could give you millions of dollars, but you can't use it to buy back even one of those seconds once it's gone. They're just gone. And that's really the whole point of the story about the watch. A father tells his son, look, this watch has a price tag, but the time it tells, that's priceless. And it's true, right? We all get the same 24 hours. Rich, poor, doesn't matter. What defines our lives isn't how much time we have, it's what we choose to do with it. So let's bring it all together. When you stop hoarding for a future that might not even happen, when you stop chasing those shiny doors, when you learn to embrace the quiet, silent seasons, what's left? This moment, right now. It's the only thing you actually have. So the question for you is, what are you going to build with it?